Hi there, I'm Sam from Capital Play. The video you're about to watch is of an install we did earlier on this summer of an 11x8 Capital Play in-ground trampoline. Now I'll talk you through the process as you watch the video, but it lasts for about 5 minutes or so. So if you want to put me on pause right now, go off, make yourself a cup of tea, come back and watch.
The first thing you want to do is check off the contents of the boxes with the instruction book and then put your frame together. You can use two people to put the frame together, but it can be done with one person. Just make sure that all the holes for the springs are facing up. Now the next thing you want to do is mark out the area that you want to dig. I normally mark out about 20 or 30 centimetres wider than the actual frame. This makes it a lot easier to drop the frame in when you come to setting it in on the shelf. Now if you're digging onto a lawn turf, you probably want to save about a quarter of the turf. We can use that for backfilling later, just to butt it up against the frame once it's in the ground. But once you've got a bit of the turf out, you can actually start doing the dig itself. Now the first step you want to go down to is 25 centimetres. Obviously use a tape measure to mark it out, and that's going to be the first depth going down to the shelf. Once you've dug down to that level, you want to just mark out your next hole, your inner hole. This is going to be your bounce area. You're also marking out where the shelf wants to be. So now you want to dig out the bowl area. This is going to go down to a total depth of 75 centimetres. The walls can be at a nice angle, they don't have to be straight down. That minimises the amount of soil that you have to take out as well. Here's a diagram showing you the depths. Now getting on the retaining walls is nice and easy. The retaining walls themselves have pre-drilled holes, and also against the side of the frame, as you can see, there are pre-drilled holes. So it's just a case of lining them up, getting your drill head in and screwing them on. I normally start off by screwing on all the top screws first, then I come back and screw on the bottom screws. But once you've got that on, you can drop the frame in just to make sure that it's nice and level. It's also a good point here to check that your shelf isn't too thick. Do bear in mind though that the frame itself is going to come in through, a couple of inches when you get the springs on. So once you made sure the shelf's level and everything, you can put the membrane down. So next up, it's getting the springs on. With the 11x8, we normally do the 4 corners first. It does help to use a spring tool, because there is going to be quite a stretch on the springs. Once you get the 4 corners on, do the middle ones on the side. Again, this is going to be quite a big stretch, so do use a spring tool. And now getting the rest of the springs on, you just work in opposites with someone. This makes it a lot easier, and it keeps an even tension on the springs themselves when you go to put them on. So once they're all on, as you can see, the frame's kind of moved in quite a bit. So it's worth just giving the trampoline a bounce just to make sure that, that you're not hitting the sides or anything like that. So now you need to backfill it. Again, nice and easy. You should have saved yourself plenty of soil when you were doing the dig. And just feed it into the sides. Be careful, you do want to get it between the retaining wall and the outer wall of the shelf. So pack it down nice and tight as well. If you haven't got a rammer, you can use the butt head of a shovel. And now it comes to the returfing bit. As I mentioned earlier, if you're digging onto a lawn turf, it's always worth saving some. Then you can just put it on top of the area that you backfilled and butt it right up to the frame. Just give you a nice clean finish. So the final phase is getting on the pads. Again, nice simple job. Easiest way to go about it is get all the toggles on the pad first. You'll notice that you want the toggle head, the round ball, facing on the inside of the pad, and the toggle itself we're going to loop around the frame. So once you've got all the toggles on, flip the mat over, lay it onto the frame, and then grab yourself like a wide-headed spanner or a fat-headed chisel or something, and you're going to try and tuck the toggles between the retaining wall and the actual frame itself. Now it can get a little bit fiddly, but as I say, as you can see, I've got the chisel in there. I've just popped it between the frame and the retaining wall, given it a turn to open it up, and then you just feed the toggle through, and then you wrap the elasticated part of the toggle around the round toggle head. And then the very final part is you've got a tube on the seam of every part of the pad. So again, when you lay the pad down on top of the springs, you'll get an idea of which spring you'll want to take off, feed through the tube, and then pop it back on again. Again, a little bit fiddly, does help to use the spring tool provided, and also just kind of move the tube kind of left to right to see which spring it fits onto the nicest. And that's it. Congratulations, you've just built yourself a capital play in-ground trampoline.